Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Jordan here bringing you episode 1 of our Pittsburgh Penguins franchise mode. Now, we had a couple of polls, one up on Discord, one here on YouTube. The Blackhawks and the Flyers both tied with 3 votes apiece, tallying up from both polls, and the Penguins had 4 votes. So we are going to be doing the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the next one will be between the Flyers and the Blackhawks. So before we load in here, just want to see what I've set the custom league rules to. So you guys can see here the player salary max, I upped it to 1 million. I also downed the minimum cap to 66. It was at 70. Didn't change the NHL schedule. However, I did make it so that it's 3 points for a win in regulation, 2 points for the OT win, 1 point for the OT loss, and then 0 points for the regular season loss. I did not switch the standings tiebreakers at all, but I did make it so it is a conference playoff setup. The top 8 teams will make it, and then playoff reseeding is on, so the best team left will always play the worst team left. I didn't switch the playoff format in terms of there being OT and there is no wild card round, so it's continuous OT and then 2 home, 2 away, 1 home, 1 away, 1 home. And the AHL is set up the exact same way, 3 points. You have the conference playoffs with reseeding, and we did not switch the playoff format. All right, guys, so here we are at the division realignment. We're not going to change any teams around, but because it's a custom league, we do have to rename the divisions as well as the conferences, so I have them all labeled accordingly. Now we're going to keep owner mode off, fantasy draft off, player morale off, fog of war is off, head coach edit lines off. Everything is going to be off here except for CPU trades. All right, now going through the settings here, we're going to leave injuries on. Since this is different than our Bison series where we're going to do 3, maybe 4 episodes for one season, maybe not 4, but definitely 2 or 3. Injuries being on is okay. It's not going to slow us down that much. Period length for 20 minutes if we go into a playoff overtime game. You can see difficulty is on Superstar. We have the mode length at 25 years. No promises we do the entire 25, but for sure at least 15. Trade difficulty is on hard. Waivers are on. And then this is just the relocation and fog of war stuff. Now, when we head into the advanced settings, we're going to make sure the injury return is on fully healed, as well as we want no head coach editing the lines in both leagues. We're going to leave sim engine scoring on medium, draft class quality on high, but generated prospect quality on medium. I'm hoping that that will give us more depth in a draft, but still it's not going to be too crazy with a bunch of medium franchise players. And then the sim engine shot frequency is going to be on high. And then all this stuff is just the notifications, which we'll leave on. The ones that are on for us and the ones that are off do not matter. All right, so you can see here, guys, we are all loaded in. We're not going to take too much time in this video. Maybe it'll be 20 minutes total. We're just going to go here, look at the edit line screen, take a look at what the team is looking like. All right, guys, so taking a look at our NHL lines here, we've got Novak, Crosby, and Rust, Raquel, Malkin, Mantha, Brazeau, Hayes, Tomasino, and then Heinonen, Lizotte, and Achari. Now, we could switch things up a little bit if we want to. I just like the lines to look like this because it spreads out the wealth a little bit. You've got 2 kind of your bigger name players on each line carrying a little bit of a lesser player. Defensively, we've got Graves and Carlson, Clifton, Letang, and Witherspoon and Dumba. It's obviously not the greatest defense. If we are going to want to make a playoff push in these first couple of years, kind of give Crosby, Letang, and Malkin one last shot at a cup, we're definitely going to have to make some trades to increase this. And then in goal, guys, we have Tristan Jarry and Arthur Sheeloffs. Sheeloffs is really the only thing close to a prospect that we have on the team. He's a medium starter, but he is 24 years old. So at best, maybe he gets 82, 83, but I would say that's very unlikely. Now, I don't think it is too important here to go over the AHL lines, at least not in this episode, but just want to give you guys a look at our prospect pool. So we have Kindle, Brunnicki, Ilian, McGrory, Pickering, Horkoff, Kuvanen, and Bill Zonin. Now, those are all of our, top six forwards or top four D. They're the best prospects that we have. Um, there's enough of them here that if you guys want us to go after one last cup for Crosby and Malkin, we can definitely trade a handful of these guys as well as a couple of first round picks and bring in some talent to the team. There's a few names I would specifically target, but if there's any players you guys would want to see on our team, please feel free to let me know in the comment section and I could try my best to go after them, but it has to make sense with what we're going to do. If we are going to go after one last cup, then, we are going to trade these prospects. If someone tells me to trade for Frank Nazar, well, Nazar's kind of still a prospect, not really going to fit what we need, so I wouldn't go after him. But, if you tell me to go after somebody like, I don't know, Boone Jenner, well, he's an NHL ready player for sure, experienced, that would make sense to add to our team. Like that is the kind of name I'd want to go after. Somebody who kind of makes sense for right now and maybe not necessarily going to be on the team, after 3 years. And then we do have this goalie prospect as well, guys, Bloomqvist. He is a high starter, but he's already 23. I would say it's very unlikely that he pans out, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. And then we do have all of our draft picks. So we do have a first, a second for the next 2 years that I would use as trade bait. Because if we want to make the playoffs, or if we do make the playoffs, those picks are not going to help us. Now, we could obviously just tank. We could sell off, Malkin, Crosby. Well, maybe not Crosby, like Rust. We can try to trade Carlson, try to trade Raquel, Malkin, Novak, try to trade Letang maybe as well, and solidify ourselves as in the running for McKenna. Or we could just hold, see what the team does, and then, we can decide at the deadline if we look like a playoff team, add to the team, make it better. If we're obviously out of the running, then we would sell things off. Nobody is off limits to me except for Crosby. I know you guys could make the argument that Letang is off limits. I believe in real life, Malkin is not going to resign with the Pens. Obviously, that could change. He's got this 1 year left at 6.1. If we're not a playoff team and he agrees to waive, we're absolutely trading him. Now, we just don't have the most trade value. So if we trade away these guys, I'm going to try to get mostly a couple of prospects and some later round picks because none of these guys are really going to fetch a first round pick. Now, who knows? Maybe Crosby and Rust light it up together and Rust grows to an 88 overall from morale or something, statistical growth, and then he's up in trade value. Then maybe we get that first round pick, but it isn't likely, guys. So I'm just going to go around the league and highlight some teams that have trading blocks that kind of line up with what we might do. For example, Rasmus Anderson is on the block. Now, if we want to turn ourselves into a 2 or 3 year contender for Crosby and Malkin, then, trading for a guy like Rasmus Anderson makes sense. We would have to re-sign him, but like that's the kind of things I'm going to highlight. Players who are on the block that either meet the standard for if we want to win or meet the standard for if we're going to trade for picks and prospects. So here's a team we could trade with, the Detroit Red Wings, if we're going to be a contender. We could definitely take on a guy like Cam Talbot, get rid of Shelovs. That way we have a more solidified goaltending duo, as well as JVR and Kopp both kind of give us a little bit more depth. Maybe we don't go after Kopp just because his salary is a little bit high, but JVR is on a 1 year deal, 1 mil, and he would kind of be the perfect depth addition. And the LA Kings here are having a fire sale of sorts. You can see all these players on the block. Kuzmenko on a 1-year deal would make some sense. Fogel and Deneau have 2 years left. Those players could really make sense as well, since we want to be in a 2 or 3 year window. And if we need to shore up our defense, Minnesota there with Brodin and Spurgeon, as well as they have a few depth forwards as well. Another team here with a lot of players on their block is the Utah Mammoth. You got Schmaltz there, Marino, Kraus, and Tanev, as well as Kerfoot. All guys we could probably pretty easily acquire, and they obviously help make us a playoff contender right now. And Vancouver, so far, the only team that's had any real prospects on the block with Coots and Lekkerimaki. If we are gonna, rebuild, these are two players I would absolutely love to go after. As well as Winnipeg here, guys. They've got Chabrikov, Lambert, and Yager all on the block, same as Barlow. So they definitely have a few prospects we could go after if we're going to rebuild. And then the last team here is Washington. They have a few players on the block. The only one I think that makes any real sense maybe is Carlson. But I know we're a pretty big rivalry with Washington, so maybe it doesn't make sense to trade for their players, even if they are on the block. Now, we are going to end the video off here, guys. Just a short one. We're not going to do any simulation yet. I just want to know what you guys think we should do. Where do you want to see the series go? If you want to see us be a contender, we'll make trades before we even sim. If you want to see us be a rebuilding team, we'll probably sim the first month or two before we make any real trades. And there's always the option, guys, of just waiting and seeing. We don't have to make a decision right away. We could sim all the way up to the trade deadline and figure out, are we a playoff team? Are we not? And then sell from there. If we're going to be a contender, I will make those trades right off the start of next episode, and you guys wouldn't have as much input. But if we're going to be a rebuilder, or if we are going to just wait and see, I would definitely stop the episode and get your guys' thoughts on who we should trade away and who we should trade for. And it definitely helps to wait and see in terms of rebuilding, because maybe teams will adjust their trade block based off how they're doing. Maybe, a Ottawa team or somebody like that becomes a contender and they have some extra prospects. They decide we don't need those right now. We'd rather have, a couple of established players right now. So they might change up their block, and that way we have more prospects available. We are on hard trade difficulty, guys, so it is going to be very difficult to trade for players who are not on the block, but I am for sure willing to try. Just leave all your thoughts below on what you'd like to see for the series. I will wait a few days for comments so we can figure out what direction we want to take the team in before I record the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all your love and support. We're on the road here to 100 subscribers, and we're getting pretty close to that halfway mark. So make sure to like and subscribe, and YouTube will see you in the next one.